that we are live on Zoom, my friends. Hello and happy Friday. You got Nick Patterson, Greg McClintock, and Mark Gai here with another episode of The Art of Encouragement. Mark, it's been a year. Can you believe it? We wrote a best-selling book, and it's been 1 year.
I
It's time for our next one.
Yes, it feels like it was just yesterday, and I do agree. I think one a second one with a new edition, with new stories, with new characters is definitely due.
Well, there's definitely a character. If you look right over this guy here, Greg McClintock with the cool glasses, he's part of
The
our team
glass.
now.
Good,
Yeah.
good morning, Nick. Good morning, Mark. Hello from Southern Ohio and the whole over the world. The book, it's been a year. The Art of Encouragement, the podcast, all that you guys do, and that I'm a part of it, not just as a fan or a friend, but I get to actually dialogue in it. Those glasses I keep because I went down to a balloon release outdoor suicide prevention rally last year, August 31st, coming up again this year. And I just recommitted to another city to be one of the rally speakers. And I have those glasses on. And I said, we can say we've let things go. The ones we love, let's take the shades off. Let's come to the light of day. And let's be encouraged that we have life and we can love and respect people and just go forward all the challenges. So happy anniversary to you guys. Congratulations on the book launch and the success it's having. And Nick, go from there. How's your day?
I've had an okay week. Last week I had TLI, and for those outside of Toastmasters, that's Toastmasters Leadership Institute, where we had a wonderful training session, almost 200 people there. It was fantastic. But you know, I got COVID and I had another surgery this week, and it was all I could do to just, say I'm just gonna hide in bed this week. I've been in recovery, all of those things. But I've had a month, quite the month, and I'm glad that it's August now. And I said, I want to get up, I want to be there, I'm going to be 100%, and I feel great today. And I believe it is because in the middle of the night I made that decision. I said, I'm going to have a good day tomorrow, and I'm going to do everything I'm supposed to do. I'm going to make sure that I'm not going to cancel just because I'm sick again. And I feel much better, and I think that that goes along with mindset. Sometimes we can encourage ourselves when there's no one else to encourage us. If we have self-care and self-love, and I've been learning so much about that on our journey, Mark. I really have learned how to care for myself well. And as a result, I think I know when I'm now caring for myself too much. And I said, you've coddled yourself, you've had these surgeries, get up, do your best, and you'll have a good time. And I'm doing that. I'm doing that. So sometimes we need to be our own voice of encouragement and say, just get up, just do it and enjoy yourself. Don't do it just to do it, but enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I am. So that's what I've got going on this week. How about you, Mark? What you been up to?
always working, always busy, always traveling. A lot is happening in the world, and I'm just like, whoo, things are just whizzing by. The Olympics, so much controversy, but you know what? I mean, I'm not going to comment on any of that. I'm just going to say that people get upset about a lot of things. Maybe it's manufactured, maybe it's made up, but people are always looking to be upset about something. They want to be upset about this, they want to be upset about that. And I think when you do that, you waste time. And also, when you become upset about something, you are distracted from the true purpose in life, which I think for me is to collaborate, connect, and create. Connect, create, collaborate, the three C's. And I think there's a lot of distractions, and I think a lot of them are manufactured. And it takes a different perspective just to look outside. What is really happening? Do I have to be upset about this? or there's something else going on. I don't know. This is my thoughts.
No, I agree. I saw last night that someone had posted about unfairness in some of the Olympic trials and with different competitors that were one-on-one especially, and they were showing those things and the dialogue, the exchange going back and forth. The person that posted that originally, they were not up for hearing any other sides, so I feel like if you post something on social media, be open to realizing that your circle, we don't all feel the way you feel. We have our opinions as well, and if you open it up, if you don't just have your opinion and keep it to yourself, but if you take it to the world, you have to be ready to dialogue, not just say, well, this is how I feel, this is it, this is it. Because what's the point? You're putting something in a dialogue place. And when you do that, not everyone's just going to say like and love. Others are going to enter into a conversation. And if you're not ready for a conversation, don't post it. Don't post it. If you're not open to listening to other perspectives, don't post it. And that's what is critical. That is crucial. And what's another C for the three C's? Critical, crucial, and
Creative.
creative. There we go. Absolutely. What's been the biggest thing with the Olympics that you all have seen that you think could be manufactured? The Lord's Supper? Could it be, what do you think there?
I think Greg wants to say something, but he's muted in the most inappropriate time.
No,
No,
Greg.
actually, it's a good time that I'm muted because I wanted to say, and then it didn't come out. That's learned to be a very helpful dynamic in my life. Apart from the Olympics, but joining in with that, what is manufactured is what was seen. What was creative is what I watched. What do you mean? When you put a show out, you've planned it for years. You've planned it, what's going to be, and so you want that seen. But what is not seen is the creativity and the individuality of any sport, of any athlete, from the woman in rugby from the U.S. team. The women's rugby team has never won anything other than bronze, I think. But one broken play, one girl from the Midwest ran the ball all the way down and dove across the line. I saw that. I saw people set records. I saw Ledecky, one of our swimmers from the U.S., do exactly what her father did and win the bronze in a swimming event 32 years later to the day. Picture of her dad, picture of her. So I look past what is being shown me. I want to see what you're doing today and what encouragement from those stories. And there's just so many more, Simone Biles and everything else. But then as I clicked off the news and doing late night work, what is this? Prisoners from all over the world for any reason, guilty, not guilty, political, spy, espionage, from all over the world being set free. And I went to bed with that at 1:30 in the morning, watching our country and every country be set free. So is there a message in that? Yes, there's things are always going to be presented. But when you look at the individual and get to know them and their journey, you see champions everywhere. And we should, even as a country, worldwide, champion the cause of anyone's freedom. And that's a play on words, but that's a very big stage the world's got going on, just so much. Now, what are you looking at? Are you just reading the brochure for the play? You're going to see how that background actor really stole the show. And what part are you playing? Do you want to be an encourager? And what do you want to focus on? I think that's so essential. So I'm very happy. And I've got a cup my wife gave me a long time ago. It says Mr. Right. Made me feel good. But then I was doing dishes one day, and these come in a set. Her cup says Mrs. Always Right. So I yield to Mark on that. You can be right, but you got to know when to move along. Mute yourself.
That is so good. That is so good. And we have the best team, I think, here. Very diverse, but always in sync of encouragement. We may not always agree or believe the same thing, but we always syncing up on encouragement, and it's so diverse. One thing I wanted to share with the audience and with both of you is the things that you do. You may think they're not big or they're not consequential, but they are, right? You know this, both of you. I do as well. You may have, like said words of encouragement to somebody years ago, or given a speech or did a special thing, and that person remembers it, and that made a difference for them. And when you feeling low, or when you feeling like you need some encouragement, that's gonna come back to you, hopefully, and that's gonna lift you up and think, you know what, it's worth it. I'm gonna stay in the game. I'm gonna stay in the game and keep on working.
You're absolutely right. I can remember in 2019, while I was in the midst of incarceration, a Toastmaster came from outside, and they came in and they wrote these little slips of paper they would give after each speech. And one of them said, "When you get out, come to Toastmasters. You will find a family there. Your voice needs to be heard." And it was in that moment that I decided, that's right. When I get out, I will do this. I'm enjoying it now. I will. But it took that tangible invitation for me to accept it, not only here, but here as well. It's like, wow, it's not just something they're saying, but they actually mean this. And people know with that encouragement. I think sometimes, you know, we're led to do it, and we may forget we've even done it. Because I showed this slip of paper to the person that wrote it to me about a year ago now. They didn't remember writing it. They didn't even remember that. But a moment that mattered so much to me, and something that mattered so much to me, I wasn't upset whenever that wasn't, reciprocated. Instead, I just said, in that moment, it's what I needed. They acted the way they gave me the message I needed to receive in that time. And I was so thankful. I really was. So sometimes we don't even realize that our words have impact. We don't realize when we are encouraging someone how it can affect them years later. And that's the cool thing, that when we're speaking from our hearts, or as we intersect with faith, as we believe that God moves through us and speaks through us, we never sometimes understand the impact our encouragement has. It can be an afterthought to us, but it can be everything to the person that needs that encouragement in that moment. So never be shy about inviting someone to your table. Never be shy about including someone, because there are people that sit on the sidelines waiting for that little piece of paper that I received. And sometimes I see them, it's like they're waiting their whole lives. As I find senior citizens that I deal with now that are coming to the free music theory classes or whatever, and they feel like they belong. And a couple have said that's the first time they've ever felt like they could just be themselves. We should always be proactive in creating those environments for people, that whenever we know people need love, or they need music, or they need this or that, we are able to give them a place where they're accepted, where they're themselves. And we can do that regardless. You have this amazing thing called the improv class, Mark, where people can do that. Greg, I know in all of your recovery work, you create those environments. Our other listeners out there around the world today, I encourage you, create environments where people can be themselves. Create environments that maybe make you uncomfortable because you've been that person on the sidelines. Find your other people, because the world needs us. The world needs those people that will help people to be the very best they can, getting over their poor choices and mistakes and encouraging them to live the very best life they can and learn new things along the way.
I got two great examples that happened and come to culmination in the last month of two guys that I know. When I got out of prison after that long-term sentence and I come to the church I'm in now, it's a contemporary church. It's a vibrant church. There's a guy on stage, and I would always sit in the front row because I sing the way I sound. I like to hear me. No one can hear me if I'm in the front row because I got the band, and I feel like I'm just celebrating and worshiping God with a band for me. So it's a good place to hide, but I'm being present. Me and a guy playing a piano, electric piano, and singing. His name is Ryan Jones. He ended up being one of my insurance agents 2 years later when I started my little LLC. We just connected. I'd go all the way. If I felt something, I would tell him. I'd tell him in the hallway or a week later. I said, how you're doing this, you're doing that. You ought to do some of that. Well, he's been a musician. He's in his early 20s. He got married and all that. Well, last night, he announced he's opening for We Are Messengers as the front guy in Pikeville, Kentucky, Ashland, Kentucky, and Greensburg, Pennsylvania, and then Penn State University in the upcoming summer. Here's a guy I see every Sunday. Then he got married and he disappeared because he's busy with life, and he would just come in and be a part of the unbelievable contemporary music celebration we have at the church I attend, a Cornerstone Church of the Nazarene, Williamsburg, Ohio. Unbelievable. And so now he's out on his own doing what me and him just kind of dreamed about, talked about. I'm so glad I told him. I don't know what it meant to him, but we're dear friends. So he's celebrating. There's another guy. In 2020, we're in the epicenter of overdoses across America, but right here in Southern Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, the Ohio River, we had more dead bodies per capita due to fentanyl overdose than anywhere else in America. So we're out doing a rally of suicide prevention and recovery, and a guy steps up from Cincinnati who's a male nurse named Daniel Ritchie. Hey, Dan, how you doing? We share our stories. He thinks the biggest story he had currently heard in recovery is mine. And so he got up on stage, and he was found in a body bag in the snow of Cincinnati, a street kid running for drug dealers. They thought he OD'd, and he was almost frozen. He come kicking alive in the body bag. Fast forward 3 years of relationship. I was on stage, this guy talking, and he believed in me. That caused me just to keep going to my next steps. Well, he now has an A&E TV documentary on the prison system or the jail system in big cities of Ohio and where they have failed in recovery. A&E, Daniel Ritchie, .com, YouTube, everywhere, watch him. And he's agreed to be a guest of us as we commingle our schedules, as well as Ryan Jones has agreed to be a podcast guest. It's just two guys younger than me and just did their thing. We got on stage together. One, we praise worship together, and they're moving along, and they're proud of how I move on. I'm just living life. But encouragement that you say to somebody, you have no idea how far it travels. And I can say, I don't know a guy that knows a guy. I can say, I know a guy there on TV, and I know a guy there leading for We Are Messengers, a very highly rated contemporary Christian group. And that's just so powerful that you say that, Nick, because I remember the Toastmaster slips. I've got some of mine. I've got different things along the way. The book, The Art of Encouragement, when you guys sent me a free copy, read it, used it, taught it, digested it, and The Art of Encouragement. I don't know why you came up with the jingle or what you thought about, but the more I live it, it is an artistic form to speak, to be present, and to bring light wherever you go. And it's work, but it is an art form. And I appreciate you both so much. Thank you, Mark. What do you got?
I think you have to give a credit to Nick. He came up with that title. He was the originator. He was the originator. I'm just a court traveler. But yes, Nick, he is the fire starter, right? You started this idea.
Sure.
But it can be a mindset, and it's one that I had to adapt, because if as we become more and more authentic with each other post prison, my life was going to look completely different. My parents, my adoptive parents, passed away while I was incarcerated. My children were adopted. I was a failure to the world. I lost everyone and everything. And when I say that I used to think about being like a stalker at a grocery store or like a cart getter, I really thought that was all there was for me. I did not ever see myself becoming a successful man again. I did not think that the world would accept me, and I didn't think I would accept myself, because I kept myself with such high expectations, and I'd lost everything. And I didn't think I would be able personally to accept any type of failure going forward. And instead, it's been such a journey where I've learned a lot about myself. And I learned that there were things I didn't like about myself. And as I one by one tried to change those things, realized some things are really difficult, I started looking at myself with new eyes. And those eyes were ones that saw the little kid that was abused, that saw the little kid that was starved. And I started loving myself while I was in prison. I started seeing the reason I react the way I do. And although I'd been in counseling as a teen, I didn't understand then, and I didn't apply those concepts. Years later, though, I remembered some of those things, and I remembered a book called Healing for Damaged Emotions. I asked that someone send that to me. Another one is I asked a friend named Rita Romine. I had seen this book, and I saw it advertised multiple times, but it was called Restoring the Wonder, Wonder, because as a kid, I'd made that promise to myself never to grow up. And I realized that I had become jaded. I'd become just cynical. And I knew if I moved forward, I could not judge everyone. I could not strip everybody down and look at their faults and what they did wrong. Instead, I had to realize everyone has issues. Everyone has a story. Everyone had a childhood. And although our experiences may differ, we have all been that person on the sidelines at some point in some group. And I realized that most people, for everything that I could tear them down with, I could also build them up. And I took a lot of my cynicism and I would say, well, what's the opposite? What is the exact opposite thing you could say, Nick? And I started saying that instead of what I originally thought. And man, I noticed such a drastic change in how people approached me and how I was able to forge real friendships. And that came after losing everyone and everything except for hope. And it's that hope that's going to propel us on to, being who we need to be, and for being what others need us to be through our encouragement, through our authentic encouragement. Because now that's what comes to my mind. It's not the opposite anymore. When I see people, I see possibilities. When I see people struggling, I don't look at them and say, well, they probably caused it themselves. Why didn't they learn the first time? Because that's often where my mind would go. Instead, let all that go. Who are they right now, right this moment? because I can't have people saying, well, who was he 15 years ago? Or who was he 20 years ago? Because that doesn't matter anymore. What matters is today. And if you're making the change, if you're making a decision to look at people differently, don't start with yesterday. Start with today. Start with today. If you want to change your mindset, start today. Don't say, well, dang, I should have already been doing this. Start today. Start loving yourself and start looking at those around you, not as their mistakes, not as whatever they did, but start looking at that person with the potential they have. Look at their gifts, encourage them in their gifts, look at their mistakes and their past poor choices, and see if there's a pattern there. See if there's something you can do to help them break that pattern without breaking their spirit.
Mhm.
That's how we encourage people. That's how we spread hope. And that's how we inspire change, not through our judgments. So the art of encouragement was an art form for me. It was something I had to learn to do one brush stroke at a time because I want to be good at it. I want people to feel encouraged and never even know it was me. I
Yeah.
want it to be real and not, well, Nick said this, because just like that person that didn't remember writing that slip, I want to be such an encourager that I don't remember. But I was just doing what I was supposed to do the day I interacted with that person. It's not about me keeping tabs or writing a list of all the people I've helped or encouraged. And when we take ourselves away from it, that's when it's an art. That's when it's an art.
Wow, what a powerful truth. And I think it's absolutely essential what you said. Look the opposite. Everything negative you see about a person is based upon facts and what you see. Okay, well, what is the next difference? Being in effect and not getting the credit is or the biggest transition this past year for me. Part of many little small groups and been part of the Center Celebrate Recovery. Me and the pastor talked. We transitioned over. It was him and I only in the teaching. We don't even teach anymore. He's out of town. He'll call me. I'll fill in. But now it's a living organism. The people that are just standing by the church door, never had drug addiction, are now reading the concepts and they're flourishing because they understand that hurts, habits, and hangups are universal. We are human. We need each other. We need to encourage each other. Everyone has the hurt, and everyone needs the hope of the help of a friend where they are. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Greg. You get it. You always have. That's why I sent you that copy of the book, because after the hope comes the change. And that's the amazing thing when we encourage someone and then they become an encourager. That's the art, that they get such a taste of it that they want to keep doing it. It's kind of like the pay it forward movement without things.
Yeah. The priceless thing. You speak into someone's spirit, you put that joy in them of self energy. You just sit back and watch them blossom like a flower. They'll come and say, Thank you, thank you. Then you have to point out to them, No, thank you for working as hard as you are. Look what you're doing. And that happened to me in many different ways. And we don't have that kind of show ever to cover all that. Well, who are we today? What can we be encouraged with today? What good am I? Take that one thing and give it away.
That's it. Well, Greg, I've had such a good time with you today. I know our time is over, but it keeps going. It keeps going when our podcast, whenever I do the end button here, it doesn't stop. Encouragement never ends. It's not just something that we do from 10 to 10:30 on Fridays. It's a lifestyle, it's an art. And we encourage all of you watching to pick up your brushes and paint the world with encouragement. It's not just a moniker. It's not just a podcast. It's the way of life that we're inviting you to live today.
Absolutely.
Love yourself, love others, and encourage yourself and others to be the best you can be. You heard it here today. There is going to be number 2. The Art of Encouragement #2. I look forward to hearing Greg's stories, and I look forward to sharing with you all even more as well, through our written accounts of encouragement. This one probably won't have the illustrations. It will be more text-based, but the quality will be there. The quality will be there, and we just hope now as we're launching this new initiative that you will join us and that you will be part of our second chapter, as it were. And maybe you'll send us your own stories of encouragement that we might
Wow.
choose to put in there. So just things for you to consider this week. But our time is over. We will see you next Friday right here, 10 a.m. Bye-bye.
Art of Encouragement. Love you. Bye.